As Kenyans, we tend to have multiple, sources of generating income.
Yep.
Sort of ingrained in us.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and you have a side business, you have a rental income, can all those be combined during the loan application?
Okay, that's a really good question. If you have consistent rental income, that can be cited, and we can see in a statement it's consistent. If it's monthly, it's quarterly, however the terms are, then yes, it can be considered. So the consideration can be in addition to your salary, just so that then you're able to qualify for what you want. Or just sometimes if your rental income is sufficient to take care of a loan repayment, we'll just analyze it and just use your rental income without considering your salary. So there's that as an aspect.
Are there any penalties for early repayment or making additional payments?
Yeah.
'Cause for those ones who don't like taking any facility,
Yeah.
can they, expedite their payments and finish?
Yes,
Without
as a
any
matter of fact, yeah, we allow you to expedite your payments, right? And the beauty of doing that is that you save on interest. The interest you should have paid in 15 years, and you pay your loan in 5 years, you've saved on interest.
Welcome back to this mini educational series on affordable home loans. Today, we're going to tackle and focus on the diaspora market. So, if you live and work outside Kenya and you're keen on learning how you can buy your first home here in Kenya affordably, then you may want to stay tuned. So, it's a pleasure to be joined by Ronah Kabue from NCBA Bank. She's the head of Diaspora Banking, so she's here to tackle all the frequently asked questions. So, Ronah, thank you so much. Karibu.
Thank you so much.
Yes, please introduce yourself to our guests.
Fantastic. My name is Ronah Kabue. I head Diaspora Banking at NCBA Bank, based here in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay, great. So to get started, perhaps you could just break it down for us in terms of what does Diaspora Banking cover at NCBA?
Okay, I like that question. So Diaspora Banking is basically offering financial solutions to Kenyans who live and or work abroad. And abroad could be America, it could be the UK, but it also includes Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. So long as it's not within the jurisdictions of Kenya and you're a Kenyan based out there, then you're eligible to be called a diaspora customer at NCBA.
Okay.
Over and above that, we have a team, and the team is dedicated to sorting out anything that has to do with the diaspora person. So I have a team that is dedicated to providing solutions, advisory solutions, guiding you on what you need to do when it comes to just as basic as opening an account and operating that account from wherever you are. So accounts are easy to operate because then you can use internet banking or mobile banking from wherever you are. And over and above that, it's an account that's free. We don't charge any fees on it. So then that you don't have to worry about. But over and above just having an account, then we come in and help you with your investment journey back home. And that's why we're here today, to discuss affordable housing and how you can actually tap into that and grow your wealth, slowly by slowly, but you will actually have something back home. And that's what we need to do today. Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So my name is Christabel Ojok. I am the co-founder of Rensco. So at Rensco, what we primarily do is help first-time home buyers buy their homes affordably. And we partner with a couple of financiers, so NCBA being one of them. Now, in the course of our interaction with so many of our clients living in the diaspora, so we received so many questions, and I thought it would be, just a nice platform to get to answer all those questions, so that regardless of where they're watching from, they're able to have a couple of answers before they get started.
Yeah.
So with regards to now affordable home loans, the first one is, can Kenyan diasporans qualify for an affordable home loan, even if they're not physically in Kenya?
The answer to that is actually yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like affordable housing because it answers the question of, I want to invest back home. I want to be able to invest in something affordable. That means that it's not costing me so much money. And a lot of times, because you don't actually have the experience of investing back home, then this is a nice way to start out and to learn the process of home ownership back home. So affordable housing then gives somebody an opportunity to own a property, in terms of a house, for example, an apartment, just as an example. And because of the price points are not too high, then you're able to invest in that way. So for us, when it comes to affordable housing for diaspora, the maximum amount that we can lend is 10.5 million, repayable in 15 years, 15 years subject to retirement age. And the current rate we're offering is at 9.5%. So All you need to do is just get in touch with us and tell us that I'm interested. And, because of the partnership like we have with yourselves, then we're actually even able to guide a customer on where to go. So what we normally ask is, okay, fine, you want to invest you want to purchase a property, you want to purchase an apartment, but you don't know where. So that's where we also start becoming as an advisor, right? You say, I want to say, buy it in Lavington, just as an example. Then we're able to actually guide you in that direction because of these kind of partnerships that we have. Then we have knowledge of properties that we can actually advise our customers to get into in terms of investments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the second one would be what documents are required to apply, and what happens if somebody has lost now their Kenyan documents. So in that process of probably you're transitioning from Kenya to go work somewhere else, in between there, your ID got lost or just something got lost. Yeah. So what documents would they be required to submit during the application process?
Okay, so assuming you've already identified the property that you want, the first thing we do as a bank is check your eligibility. Do you qualify for this loan that you want? So to do that, we ask you for pay stubs for 3 months. We'll ask you for 6-month statements where your salary or your income goes into or is deposited into, and a credit report from the country where you're based. So I'll just give an example. If you're based in the US, we'll ask for a full credit report from Experian or from Equifax or from TransUnion. But you could have credit report from the country that you're based in, and that's what we'd ask for. Those first 3 documents are what we require. Why do we need them? We need to check if we were to extend a loan to you, do you qualify for that? And why we ask for, say, for example, your credit report from abroad is to check your level of indebtedness in that country. Right, so we do a 360. Do you have any loans in Kenya ongoing? Do you have any loans abroad ongoing? And after we factor in everything, what do you qualify for? Once we are done with that, we come back to you and tell you that you do qualify for X amount, right? And then we go into the next stage, which is a documentation stage, which is now where you put in your application. You fill out an application form and submit that to us via email, and we'll be able to actually process the loan for you. You do get an approval or confirmation that we will lend to you in 5 working days. So in 5 working days, I'm actually coming to tell you we've assessed your application, it's gone through the credit process, and your loan has been approved, right? And then now from there, we take on the journey of home ownership in terms of the mortgage process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you've talked about the timeline because that's a very key one.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of somebody who maybe they're watching it and they're like, okay, actually this is something that I need to jump on.
Yeah.
So 5 days, you're looking at once you submitted all those documents, then you're looking at a timeline of on average 5 working days.
Yes, to get an approval.
To get an approval.
Or just feedback. Okay, fine, you've provided your documentation, but in some cases, we may require a little more supporting documentation for one reason or another. Then we'll be able to come back to you even before the 5 working days and tell you, in addition to what you've provided, we will require something additional just to support. Mostly when you ask for additional documentation for support, it's because maybe your incomes are not consistent, or there could be something that we've noted that would just need us to clarify. Then at that point, then we'd ask you for something additional. But most of the time, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And then you asked me a question around identification. So, for instance, I lost my Kenyan national ID, and I really want to get into this investment journey.
Yeah.
We can use a Kenyan national passport. That is valid, of course. The new generation one, the baby blue one, that's the one we are currently accepting. We can use that. But I'd really like to encourage Kenyans out there to actually look to get the Kenyan national ID. It's required for literally everything, When you're not trying to get a KRA PIN certificate, which forms part of the documentation for an application, you will be required to have that as well. So yes, it may be lost. You could, seek help from the embassies in the countries of where you are, and they'll be able to actually support. We've also seen the State Department of Diaspora Affairs doing, activations all over the world, just trying to encourage people to actually have a national ID, so that then you're actually able to do a couple of things more than over and above investing. It is required to be able to do a couple of things back home. So it's encouraged that you actually get one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope they've taken note.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yes. Yeah. So how does dual citizenship affects one's ability to now secure a home loan? So in this case, yes, you're a Kenyan citizen, but then you also relocated, and perhaps either by virtue of marriage, you got citizenship in now the other country. So does that have any sort of impact on somebody as far as their eligibility is concerned?
Absolutely not. When you're applying with your Kenyan documentation, right? The only thing I'll probably ask is I'll ask for proof that you're based in that country. So probably I'll ask for a recent utility bill that has your name on it, or if you have the passport from that country, we'll ask for just a copy of it, or just basically prove to us you're based abroad. But when you're making your application here, we'll actually ask for Kenyan documentation in terms of your Kenyan national ID and your KRA PIN certificate. Those are required. But anything else that relates to you being out there, then we will also ask for, and because you have dual citizenship, I'm certain you have the documents we require.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because they are, so diasporas, obviously they're living outside the country, is there an option to make an application online, or do they need to physically come and, start that process?
Oh, no. You don't need to physically come. Like I mentioned, I have a team, right? And my team's work is to actually handhold you throughout the process, from when you make an inquiry, for when you actually settle on, this is a property I want to buy, to your documentation process, to, the credit process, and ensure that they hold your hand end to end. The application process is, you don't have to be here physically. You just need to make sure that you fill out your application forms, send them to us via email, and we can communicate via email throughout. As a matter of fact, I'll just point out that there's a customer who actually recently did for him a construction facility, and he was never here. He only came and picked up, his keys and opened the house. So we're actually able to support to that extent. And the beauty of the team is that they're not only just paper pushing, they know where your property is. They have actually gone to site and seen it, right? So again, eyes and ears on the ground on your behalf, so that then even when you're investing, you know that it's not just your eyes, but the financial institutions that's extending the loan facility to you is actually happy with that specific property. And as a bank also, because we do carry out, say, evaluation on the property, evaluation is a very useful report, because then it tells us more about this property. Sometimes you'll find it looks nice on the outside up until the valuation report comes and tells you it's on the Ndongo report, or it's by a riparian land, or it's, all these kind of things. So then when the bank tells you, we are unable to finance you for this property because as per the valuation report, we have noted X, Y, and Z, then it takes care of you as a customer. It protects you, because there are things that we will see that you will not be able to see, or the things that we understand that you may not necessarily understand as an investor who is based abroad. So we actually encourage anybody doing an investment back home to actually go through the bank, even if you do have the cash, right?
Yeah.
Having the cash is good,
Yes.
but there's certain aspects of investment that you have no clue about. But because we are a financier, we understand. And so we actually encourage you to go through the financial institution to be able to cover you in areas that you may not be able to cover yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for answering that so extensively. And so sometimes you may have a customer approach you directly, or sometimes they may also come through us. So in the sense that they go on our platform, that's rensco.africa, and they've identified a property that they may be interested in. So even on our end, when we are having that discussion with them, so one of the financial partners that would also introduce them to would be NCBA. So it could be either way. Either they could just do directly through you if they already identified a property, or through Rensco. So, okay. Then looking at the next question, so can they authorize somebody to also make an application on their behalf? Again, you're not here, so perhaps you're like, oh, let me send my cousin to, just make an application for me. Is that permissible?
No. The application process is you who gets to do it.
Okay.
The only time your cousin, brother, sister, relative can come in is if you appoint them you give them power of attorney rights. So you can actually offer, or you can actually get them what you call specific power of attorney rights, or general power of attorney rights. So specific means they can only do very specific things with regards to that specific transaction.
Okay.
General is you can generally carry out or do whatever that we agree on. And so in the case where you've gotten them power of attorney through a lawyer, then they can do certain aspects of that application for you. They may not necessarily sign for you, but because you're not here, they can do the runaround, that would be required or for one reason or another, or they can be a point of contact for us if we need some form of access to something, then they can play that role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, so how long does we've already covered this. So how long does the loan approval process take for a diaspora applicant? So we've initially talked about the 5 working days. And then, of
Yes.
course, if additional documents are required, then you can also request for that.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to the next segment. So if somebody works in the gig economy, now we know, so in the diaspora, we have a mix of clients. So we have those who are in professional jobs, and then we have those who are working within the gig economy, you're working on a shift basis. So for those ones specifically, or those in informal employment, how can they prove their income for loan eligibility?
Okay, I like that question. What we look at as a bank or let's just say a financial institution,
Yes.
number one is consistency of that income. Okay. So for instance, you got paid this month, say February or March, and then the next time you'll get a payment is in August. You see, so there's a sense of consistency that we would like to see.
Okay.
And even if your dynamic is like I have described, is it consistent? Am I paid every 3 months, every 6 months? Am I an annual payment, So what does that look like? It's not a situation where I've earned something today and then I'll have to wait another 3 months until I get another, gig. And then, we require to see something consistent. When we say we require to see, we are seeing it in a bank account in terms of a deposit into that account. And over and above that, supported by pay stubs. But sometimes you find people don't have pay stubs, but you have credits into an account. Then yes, we can look at the credits in the account and actually analyze your eligibility using that. So if you're in consultancy, you're doing a consultant job, you have a consultancy for the next 6 months, 12 months. Is it consistent? Does that consultancy contract run for how long? Those are the kind of things that we look for. And then what do? Are you in a field that for sure you will always kind of have something going? Then, those are, again, the aspects that we look at. So I would answer yes and no. Yes and no, because there's certain aspects that we must look into that will determine if we would be able to support you or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. And are there specific income thresholds or salary brackets that somebody needs to meet in order to now make an application or become eligible?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because today we're discussing affordable housing.
Yes.
So with regards to affordable housing, we first of all, the income that we look at is that you need to be earning a gross of not more than 1 million shillings. Basically, the 1 million is a maximum, 1 million and below. Okay. And then the loan should be 10.5 million.
That's a maximum.
That's
amount.
a maximum amount.
Yes.
And it runs for 15 years, subject to retirement age, at a rate of 9.5%.
Okay.
Now, if your income is above that 1 million, what do? We can actually extend to you a loan, but not with the terms of affordable housing, right?
Those guys don't need affordable.
They don't need affordable. Okay. So not using the terms. And that means then you don't have a limitation on the amount.
Okay.
And it's subject to your eligibility. So if you're eligible for 20 million, we'll finance you the 20 million. But if it's specifically under affordable housing, those are the terms.
Okay.
Yeah. And sorry, let me just add that it's subject to, there's no maximum. It's subject to your eligibility. If you qualify for 50, 100, we'll be able to extend the same to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the maximum. What about minimum? Is there a minimum amount that somebody would need to? And I know, because considering it's diaspora, so there are various currencies. There's USD, there's British pounds, etc.
Yeah.
But is there a minimum amount that somebody needs to be earning to now, be considered eligible? We've talked about also character in terms of consistency of payment and all that. Yeah. But on a monthly basis, is there?
Well, but when we say minimum, I would not. You see, it's really tied to your incomes.
Okay.
Right. So if your incomes, the best you can qualify for is 7 million. That's really what it is.
Okay.
Right? If you qualify for the maximum of the 10.5, then that's really what it is, if that's what you want. But that's why I said when we started that eligibility is really important. Even before you go to Renco and say, I want to buy this apartment, the first thing you do is actually check eligibility. Because you'll make a commitment on one end, but on the other, on the financier's end, the financier is telling you, no, we can only do up to X.
Yes.
Something else that's really important to know is that assuming you only qualify for 7 million, but you want a 10.5 million, and you can raise the difference. Again, we'll finance you the 7 million and you raise the difference, right? So again, there's a sense of flexibility in terms of you may be eligible, but you have some savings that you've kept somewhere that you can now, put in, and then you're able to actually get the maximum amount. So there's that, and that's why I'm saying with my team, then we're able to actually evaluate all those things and then come back and tell you this is actually what you qualify for, and this is how your loan would sit, and this is what would be required of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good, because we don't want anyone thinking, oh no, I don't qualify. So
Yeah.
please don't shy away.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out just to find out if you're eligible and how you can also get started.
Yes.
Then the other one would be, so do you consider, I think we've answered this one, do you consider foreign income when assessing affordability, and how is it verified? We've talked about that, because we've talked about now, of course, you have to submit your proof of income. And obviously, if you're outside Kenya, you're going to earn in foreign currency.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
Yeah, but I could add.
You could also add,
okay.
yeah.
So with affordable housing, we align your foreign currency to remember I said the maximum income that you may be earning is $1 million and below, right?
Yes.
So we'll align your foreign currency income to that.
Oh, okay. So you'll do a conversion. By
A
aligning, you mean
conversion, exactly.
Okay.
And also for affordable housing, we will use your foreign currency statements or pay stubs, but we'll extend to you the loan in Kenya shillings. Affordable housing is only available in Kenya shillings. But if you're taking a loan and it's not affordable housing, I can actually lend you in Kenya shillings, in US dollars, British pounds, or even euro. So long as your income is aligned to those currencies, we'll be able to lend to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's very important, because I hadn't, and I'm sure as many people who are watching, that the thought process wasn't like, you convert from a foreign currency to Kenya shillings. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, as Kenyans, we tend to have multiple, sources of generating income.
Yeah.
Sort of ingrained in us.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and you have a side business, you have a rental income, can all those be combined during the loan application?
Okay, that's a really good question. Let me speak to rental income because we use that, yeah? If you have consistent rental income, that can be cited, and we can see in a statement it's consistent. If it's monthly, it's quarterly, however the terms are, then yes, it can be considered. So the consideration can be in addition to your salary, just so that then you're able to qualify for what you want. Or just sometimes if your rental income is sufficient to take care of a loan repayment, we'll just analyze it and just use your rental income without considering your salary. So there's that as an aspect. However, there's situations where I have a side business I'm doing, the income, today I've made X, tomorrow it's Y, so that consistent, then that may not necessarily be used towards loan repayment. It needs to be something that's consistent, that we can see, we can cite, and we can actually consider it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then we've talked about what's the maximum loan amount. We mentioned that to be 10.5.
Yes.
Now, the second part of that question is, are there any penalties for early repayment or making additional payments?
Yeah.
For those ones who don't like taking any facility, can they, expedite their payments and finish?
Yes. As a matter of fact, yeah, we allow you to expedite your payments, right? And the beauty of doing that is that you save on interest. The interest you should have paid in 15 years and you pay your loan in 5 years, you've saved on interest.
Yes.
And we do not charge for that. There's no penalty for that. All you need to do is just let us know. So you make sure that the money is sitting in our account, at a current account at NCBA. And then we, with our account, we have, through internet banking, we have an option where you can actually send a message to the bank. So you message us and say, kindly deduct from my account X amount and use it to reduce the principal of my loan, and we'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're living in the diaspora. you obviously now have bank accounts on that end, and on this end, some may do have bank accounts, some maybe not. So I'm just trying to understand how would that look like for somebody who is now eligible. They want to get started. How will they? How will that? How will they be making their monthly repayment? Yeah.
That's a really good question. And I'll start by saying, with NCBA, you don't actually need to have had a banking history with us. If you're taking a property finance solution with us, you can actually open an account and apply for the loan at the same time. You remember, maybe years back, you are required to actually have an account for 6 months before you could be considered. We don't have that as a
So
as
we've
a
come a long
condition.
way.
We've come a long way. That's
Yes.
one. Two, you're based abroad. You're based in the UK, in the US. There's no way your salary will be sent to us. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So for loan repayments, then you will be expected to have an account, to have opened the account with us, and the monthly deductions you have availed the monthly deductions in the account every month. So however you decide to do the transfer, you can do SWIFT through bank to bank, or you could use the money transfer services that people now use these days to send money back home. You could do that. And the money transfer services are good because they actually facilitate a transfer into the account directly. It's quick, it's efficient, it's cheap, so there's that as an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the onus is on them to,
Yes.
on a monthly basis, to honor the obligation.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So how are loan repayments structured for diaspora clients? Now, specifically, the question here is, can they pay in foreign currency?
I think I answered that a bit. If we lend to you in foreign currency, then send the money in foreign currency. So if your loan is in US dollars and your income is in US dollars, pay the loan in US dollars.
Yes.
The advantage is that there's no conversion. When you send US dollars, it will come into a dollar account and we collect in dollars. If you take the loan in Kenya shillings, you'll send US dollars, convert it to shillings, and then pay the loan. So if you are not taking affordable housing, but you still want to take a facility with us and you want to take it in foreign currency, it's okay. We allow that. And we allow you to send your money into a dollar account, into a euro account, into a British pounds account, and we will collect the money in that foreign currency. So then that helps because there's no foreign exchange rate conversion in when it comes to your loan repayment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for somebody who, first of all, let's say if you're earning in US dollars and you open an account with NCBA in USD, so they channel their funds to the dollar account.
Yes.
Can they now negotiate for an exchange rate from the dollar account to the Kenya shillings account, and then now the deduction happens? Is that possible?
Yes, and that's good because you can have a dollar account and a shilling account. So you can send bullet amounts into your dollar account and then now manage that amount as you go, converting to Kenya shillings. That way you're able to actually even control the foreign exchange rates, right? Because sometimes they may fluctuate. And so you're able to manage the fluctuations in a more efficient way. The other thing that NCBA has is that on our mobile banking app, we have something called NCBA. There are mobile banking app called NCBA Now. We have something called FX Now. With FX Now, you can actually do your own FX transaction yourself. And every week or from time to time, we have what we call happy hour. So we actually give preferential rates to diaspora people.
Okay.
And when you're having a happy hour, it's preferential. But on a daily basis, there's an existing preferential rate anyway. So we actually have those kind of activities and engagements that actually help you to manage your FX conversions more efficiently.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very innovative.
Yeah.
The hour on exchange rates.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other one is, what happens if I lose my job or my income fluctuates? Now, we get this question a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just that fear
Yeah.
of, okay, this is a long-term obligation.
Yeah.
But then it's not guaranteed that my job is secure through and through.
Right.
So that tends to come up a lot. What happens in such a case?
Okay.
With NCBA?
The first thing I always tell anybody who either has an income that has reduced or has lost a job is tell the bank. We find it's a difficult position to be in. So I guess in the mental, trying to plan, trying to do this, you forget that you need to speak to the bank. So what we advise is speak to the bank. Say my income has reduced or I have actually lost an income. What we then do is, if your income has reduced, we do what we call a loan restructure. And the purpose of a loan restructure is so that then, based on the income that you now have, then we will restructure it to be able to fit into that. So it means that we may either extend the loan tenor. Maybe you are done 10 years, you can extend it another 3 years. So then now you're doing a 13, so that then you're able to pay within what you have. So that is one way. Now, that's when your income has reduced. If you've actually lost a job, we do extend what we call retrenchment cover. However, it's subject to terms and conditions. There's certain terms and conditions you ought to have met so that then you qualify for that. But my point here is that please speak to the bank because we are willing to help. The bank's interest is not to foreclose. That's not our core business.
That's usually what people
that is
think,
not our
yeah.
core business. So our core business is to lend money, right? And so we want to be able to lend to you, and we want to also make sure that it's an experience that is not difficult and that's not painful. So speak to the bank when you're in a situation of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then finally on this segment, so if I face challenges with repayment, what options are available to avoid foreclosure?
Yeah.
So again, we've talked about speaking to the bank. Are there any other options now, specifically now tailor-made for somebody who's in the diaspora? Let's say, for example, they had purchased and maybe they have a relative staying in there, and the long-term plan is eventually when they come back into the country, then they can get to move in. But in this case now something has happened and the property is there, but then now they've lost their source of income. What happens in such a scenario?
Like I mentioned, two things. Either we do a restructure where you're saying, I've lost my income in terms of my salary, but I have some money from my side hustle or gig. Let me use the word gig. And this is how much I get. So then we need to talk and agree if that's something we can consider in terms of your towards your loan repayment, and we can restructure the loan. If you're at zero entirely, I have no income, then like I mentioned, if you've been retrenched, we can consider retrenchment cover. And there's certain terms and conditions that must be met for you to be eligible for that. So it's important to speak to us. And we discuss and we can restructure, or we can discuss how do we go ahead from here.
Yeah.
But the point is speak to the bank.
To the bank.
Yes.
And as for the retrenchment cover, I want to presume that it's a cover that ideally should have been taken at the point of taking the facility. You take it prior to, of course, that eventuality happened, not when it's happened.
No, it needs to have, you need to have applied for it prior.
Okay.
It needs to be something that is actually running as the loan is running, so that then it's able to take care of you in such eventualities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, on the last segment covering property ownership and benefits, so one of the questions is, can I buy a home for investment purposes, or does it have to be owner occupied?
You can buy a house for owner occupation or for investment purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's possible for both.
Okay.
You're not here, so
Yeah.
yeah. So if you're not here, you can get a tenant.
Okay.
Yeah, or if you're here, then a relative can live in there.
Okay.
Yes.
And on the aspect of getting a tenant, so that's even more comforting because just if you look at those monthly repayments, we usually tend to emphasize that they mirror either the rental income for that particular unit or near. So maybe just a very small margin.
Yeah.
So in the event that you even lose your source of income, unfortunately,
Yes.
then you do have a tenant, then the
Yes.
tenant, so you can continue making your repayments.
As a matter of fact, yes.
Yes.
And we do encourage you to, part of the loan process is that if there's going to be a tenant in that house, then that rental income has to be cited at NCBA.
Okay.
And the beauty of that is that, again, if you're in that situation where you've lost an income, we can see the income, right? And we can work with that in terms of the restructuring. We can work with that and see if this will be able to take care of your loan obligations as we wait for you to get another job or find another way to get an income.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what types of properties are eligible under this loan program? Now, in this case, we mentioned the cap is 10.5 million.
Yes.
So I want to believe it has to be a property within that price point. However, if you have more insights in terms of, let's say, like the geographical area as far as eligibility is concerned, I don't know if you can share some thoughts around that. Can I take the facility and build my rural home, for example, like shags?
Okay. Now you're alluding to a different type of product.
Okay.
So I will speak to the products so that then we can answer your question.
Okay.
So under our property financing solutions that we offer, you can take a straight mortgage. Basically, you've seen an apartment. I want to buy this apartment. It's ready, right? That's one. Two, you can take a plot loan to purchase an undeveloped piece of land. Three, you already own the piece of land and you want to construct on it, then we can offer or extend what you call a construction loan. And for diaspora, we have something called Easy Build. And Easy Build, what is a construction loan facility where, as the bank, then we are able to introduce you to a consortium of specialists. What is the main challenge when it comes to construction is the contractor, they've gone and done funny things. Today you're told cement is X, tomorrow the price of cement is X, then tomorrow it's Y. Basically, you don't have eyes on your construction facility. And so as a bank, then we're able to extend a bit more service in terms of introducing you to a consortium of specialists that we have vetted and that we've worked with before. And so you can trust them to be able to deliver your construction facility from start to end. Secondly, we have a project management team within the bank. So over and above the consortium doing the construction for you, our projects team is actually the eyes on the ground, the eyes and the ears on the ground. They inspect at every stage of that construction. They inspect and ensure that the contractor is doing the right thing. So that's another product that we have, and it's very specific. Easy Build is very specific to the diaspora.
Okay.
Right? And then we have something called Buy and Build. Buy and Build is we're financing you to buy the plot and build on it at the same time. A lot of times you find people buying land and then keeping it, and then I'll build one day.
Yeah.
But with us, if you're ready to actually do construction immediately, we do Buy and Build. So we purchase the land for you and build at the same time.
Okay.
Now, with affordable housing, we can purchase the apartment for you, so long as it's a maximum of 10.5. We can construct for you. Okay, we can do buy and build for you. The only thing under affordable housing will not do is buy the plot. But those other three would be able to do. Now, if it's not under affordable housing, you qualify for whichever products that I've just talked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And before we close off, so the other one is, can I apply for the loan as a group? So this is chamas or family members living abroad. They form their own nice little community.
Yeah.
Can they come together and apply for affordable home loans?
That's a very tricky application. Why I say that is because I'll give a scenario. We are a chama, okay? We are a group of 10 people, and our objective is to invest back home. We've identified a property, and we want to buy that house, okay?
Yeah.
Now, 10 of us have different incomes. So you have $3,000, you have $2,000, that one has $10,000. Okay, so out of the 10, 3 lose their jobs, right? And remember, there's an obligation here. So then what happens? So we try and steer away from those kind of arrangements, and also because of the dynamics. Group dynamics are also different. What we have seen, and I've seen this before, is a group comes together. They say we want to raise money to invest back home. Fantastic, congratulations.
Yeah.
Then in the same group, this group says we should buy an apartment. This other one says we buy land. No. As a matter of fact, let's invest in bonds. So those dynamics get in between a loan facility of 15 years.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So then it becomes a bit difficult to support those kind of requests, only because of the dynamics that come with groups.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as you have, the intention is good because, of course, you want to do it together.
Yes.
But then in this particular case, as long as you have a source of income, just apply and see what it is that you can qualify for, which properties you can get within your affordability range, and then now you start from there. So start with that one by yourself, and then you can do subsequent ones as a group or in whichever shape or form.
But also let me add, the group can be considered if, number one, they are registered.
Okay.
Okay. 2, as a group, they can indicate and show that they have a consistent source of income that can be analyzed. Then we lend to the group. So if it is Future Realtors Circle,
yes,
or Future Realtors Investment Group,
yes,
that has been registered and they have consistent incomes into an account under future realtors, then they will be analyzed as future realtors, the organization, and not the individuals of the group.
Okay.
So I hope I've actually separated
Yes.
what we mean by no, we can't do chama. If it's just a group of people who've come, it's all registered, we just think it's a good idea, that may not work. But then if you register it and you can actually show some consistency in the income, we will consider that company or that registered entity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the last one, if I want to invest in multiple properties, can I apply for more than one loan? Trust Kenyans to know a good deal.
Of course.
So can they apply for more than one?
So long as it's not an affordable housing.
Okay.
Yes, if you let me tell you, if your income can take 10 houses mortgage, I will support you happily. Yes, so long as you qualify.
Yeah.
It's all about your eligibility.
Okay.
And then maybe just point out, I like that question, because then let me just point out, when it comes to affordable housing, you can only have under affordable housing, you can only take one mortgage at any one time.
Okay.
Right? So you can't come to NCBA, take a loan for affordable housing, then go to Bank X and Y and do the same. No, you can only have one at any one time.
Okay.
Right? And then maybe another thing to think about or consider is husband and wife, okay, and they want to do affordable housing, they can take their loan jointly, or if wife's income is sufficient to take up an affordable housing loan by herself, she can do that, and the husband can also take his own. Okay, that can happen.
Oh, really? Even when they are married? Like
Yes,
they're married and
they're married. So I'm someone's wife, right? Yes. I can take it by myself.
Okay.
And my husband can take his. Okay. It's only that we are analyzing my incomes, and we're also analyzing the husband's incomes. So that can be accommodated.
Okay.
But remember, it's one property at any one time. So long as it's under affordable housing.
Okay.
If it's not under affordable housing, it's open. Okay. So long as you're eligible.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we've come to the tail end of the questions that had been submitted by our customers. Yeah. So, Ronah, mine is to say thank you so much for creating the time, to just shed light on all these questions that we've tackled, because I know owning a home is a big desire for a lot of people. Yeah. And many of them who are in the diaspora perhaps are thinking, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get to that point where I'll get to, at least just have that first decent home. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad we've had this. Yeah. And for anyone who's watching, if you're keen on getting started, please visit rentscore.africa. Yeah. If you feel NCBA is too big to go to, well, what we could do, we could walk that journey with you. We work with NCBA as well. So once we get to have that discussion in terms of what property options are in the market, what best suits you, then we can get you started and pair you up with NCBA. So thank you so much. Until next time.
Thank you so much, Christabel. That was a fantastic moment. Thank you.
Okay. Karibu.